again, we wish them all the best to the newly wedded couple, but God forbid, you know, it's a Hollywood marriage, things happen. And within a year or under a year, they get separated, they decide to go their separate ways. There's a procedure that I heard of called annulment.
Yeah, so in New York,
how would
we
that
have
work?
So an annulment is, it gives the ability to both parties or for a judge to enter a decision that instead of marking your marriage as a, being a divorce, an annulment means is as if you were never married. So some of the legal things that you may otherwise be entitled to under the law if you're married, and maybe that requires me to take a step back. Marriage bestows upon married couples some rights and obligations. The law in New York says if you're going to marry in New York, there's going to be some rights and obligations that you need to have, right? You have the absolute obligation to support one another, right? You have the right to, to keep your finances separate or together, right? If you have children, the law says you have the absolute obligation to support your children, right? And New York treats marriage as a financial partnership.
Makes sense.
In the event of a divorce, you're really divorcing, for lack of a better term, or separating a business. That's what you're doing. So they look
especially in this case.
That's right. That's right. They would look at the assets of the marriage. They would look at everything else. So that's the common, what marriage bestows upon you in New York. The law also gives you the ability to file for an annulment, to say, look, we never had, I was deceived into going into this marriage. I was married under a year. And I'd like to be counted as we didn't marry at all. But
so deceit is a factor that needs to be present.
That's correct. So an annulment is not something you can just voluntarily say.
I see.
Just annul the marriage. You have to have a reason. There has to be a either deceit, fraud, any unconscionability, something that would say that this is not what I bargained for.
Got it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
This is definitely not what I bargained for.
You bought a cat in the bag.
That's right. But it has to be a marriage under a year and in New York, right? I don't know the law in California. So I don't believe, quite frankly, that you can contract in a prenuptial agreement the right to issue an annulment. Especially in New York, because you have to have then a reason, and you're admitting then in a contract that you either you committed fraud, or you were deceitful, or the marriage was somehow otherwise unconscionable.
Yeah, so I think that in this case of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, that's not going to fly, because they're such public persons. They know about each other. They've been dating before. I don't think any kind of fraud or deceit could be alleged, but who knows? But again, hopefully it's not going to come down to that, and they're going to stay together forever.